Want hockey podcasts? Tough Call Podcast, 99 Forever Podcast, fantasy hockey hacks, and replays of Oilers Live. Available anywhere you get podcasts. Just search for Heavy Hockey Network or go to heavyhockey.com. That's right. We need your help. We need your subscriptions. Make sure you subscribe at www.youtube.ca/heavyhockey.
Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast.
Hey, I guess we are back. It's all right. We're back. It's Oilers Live. We've got our special guests, Mr. Eric Friesen, senior editor from heavyhockey.com, Ryan the Oracle Lotsberg, senior writer from heavyhockey.com, and my best buddy and associate host, Mr. Dash in the Park.
Two-time defending prediction champion.
Two-time. We just call him two-timer. I don't know what that means.
Till next year when it's three-peater.
Next year, that's right. All right, so we're back. We're going to be continuing on with the season NHL 2023-2024 season preview. And first segment, we did the Eastern Conference. Now we're rolling into the Western Conference. We finished off with me to start, so we're going to start again with Dash, and we're going to do the Central, and then we'll finish it off with the Pacific. So just like we did last time, 1, 2, and 3 for the Central Conference. But first, let's go to last year's Central Conference, which was led by the Colorado Avalanche with 109 points, Dallas Stars with 108, and the Minnesota Wild with 103. Dash, you're up.
Couple heavy hitters at the top of the Central, isn't there? I think, that's where it's going to stay. I've got them switched around this year, though. I've got the Dallas Stars coming in the number one spot for the Central. I think that, you've got a couple players like Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson that can take another step forward. That's something to say, too, given the year that those guys have had, or the last few years that those guys have had. But I truly do think that's the way their progression is going. You've got a defenseman like Miro Heiskanen that's a Norris candidate. You've got Ottinger that's a Vezina candidate. You've got Robertson that's a potential Richard candidate in the future, if not now. I really like the way that they're going in the short term. So I got Dallas having a huge year. Colorado coming in behind them in reverse order of last year, and then the same holding in their third spot, the Minnesota Wild.
All right. Eric, your thoughts? Oh, we got you on mute, Eric. Maybe we'll get you to up.
You got me?
Oh, we got you now. There
Okay.
you go.
Good. I'm similar to Dash. I got Dallas skipping over Colorado into that top spot now. Just you look at where this team is headed. They made it to the conference final last year. I think that with Robertson kind of ascending into that almost top 10 player status, with having one of the best goalies in the back of in the crease as well, and Heiskanen. And it's crazy that Dallas got all three of those players in the 2017 draft. I mean, they got an elite forward, an elite defenseman, and an elite goaltender in one draft. It's just unbelievable draft work. And as a former rival of the Oilers in the late 90s and early 2000s, it frustrates me that they were able to get those guys. So I've got Dallas holding on to that top spot, Colorado right behind them in second. I don't think they'll be too far behind. They are still going to be missing Landeskog this year, but I think that the team should be strong enough overall to be contending for that division title. And then I've got Minnesota finishing in third.
All right.
So,
Lotsy.
Yeah, I really wish I could be more entertaining for you guys, but
Okay, we say that all the time. I mean,
yeah. No,
all
we got,
right, Lazio, go. You're up.
yeah. I mean, same thing. Dallas #1. Like you guys have talked about all the strong players they have. They got the ageless wonder and Joe Pavelski still putting up numbers. You got
Yeah.
Matt Duchene, a new addition. That's gonna be an impact player for them. And
Yep.
yeah, I really like Jake Ottinger and net. I love Miro Heiskanen on defense. So they got a lot of good things going for them, and like they missed out on beating that Colorado and like in the last week of the season. And so I think they can win the division there. Colorado still fantastic, maybe not as good as in years past, but still fantastic. And then there's just a gap between Minnesota and all the other mediocre teams in that division.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Geez. I can't discount Colorado this year. Like, I think last year there was a lot of things that happened, injuries, playing a different game with Kadri out, and then of course I know Landeskog's out for the season, but man, Cale Makar on a best night is top 5 player. He there are moments he's the best player in the league, and McKinnon, there are moments he's the best player in the league. Like that 1-2 is the only 1-2 in the league that I think even comes close to McDavid and Draisaitl. And so I gotta believe that they're gonna actually get a little bit more separation between them and Dallas this year. And then I think that it's just like that. Like the Metro, though. I mean, it's the top 3 aren't going to change much. Dallas will be there and Minnesota will be there. If I had to take a team though that I know you guys are all pretty like you think Dallas is going to move up. I've got them like they're the one team that I'm not sure about. Like they could go down in my mind. Like there's some guys there, and like you talk about ageless wonder Pavelski. At some point, guys decline, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Humans decline. Joe Pavelski does not.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean. Like at some point, these guys do, and so Dallas and Minnesota. But I still think Dallas is a good team. Like I can't. Their defense is good. Everything's good about this team, and Robertson, Dash said it best. Like he's a guy that could, contend for the Richard. But so that's why I'm taking them in second and Minnesota in third. All right. That's the Central. We're going to start on the Pacific, unless you guys any more discussion on that. No, pretty good. I mean, this is, the one thing that when I was thinking about all of this this year is there's not a lot of change between the top teams in the league this year. Like the top teams are still going to be the same top teams as last year. So it's, it's just a matter of where we think they're gonna land. And so we're gonna go into our favorite division, the Pacific Division, and we're gonna start with Mr. Eric Friesen.
Yes.
To go and 1, 2, and 3 in the Pacific.
We're finally onto the fun division, the one that people care about.
That's right.
So I've got the Oilers winning their first regular season division title since 1987. They did win a few division titles after, but that was when the NHL was still crediting the team that came out of the second round of the play as the Smythe Division champions at that time. So it'll be 37 years, and by the time they hang that banner in 2024, I think it's long overdue. Coming up behind them, we've got Vegas. I don't think there'll be too much separation, maybe a handful of points, but Vegas will be in second. And then the LA Kings, they're sort of the de facto third best team in the Pacific Division. I think they did take a slight step back from where they were a year ago, trading away, that kind of greasy, gritty third line for Pierre-Luc Dubois. So I still have them as the third best team in the Pacific. And I think that those will be the 3 top 10 contenders coming out of that division anyway.
All right. And Ryan.
Yeah, we're gonna need a big drum roll for this. We got the Edmonton Oilers winning their first division in a long time, as Eric talked about. We got the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights coming in second place, and the LA Kings coming in third place. Very strong team. Yes, they did, in my opinion, take a slight step back with that trade, but they can still ice a really strong top nine. Goaltending might not be as good as last year, but they could fix that at the deadline, and it's still not bad. But yeah, third place in the division for the Kings.
All right. I am, I always like to be different from what you guys say a little bit. That's probably what shows why I don't win the prediction battle every year. But I'm going to take the Oilers in number one for sure, and then I am going to take the Golden Knights in number two, and I'm going to take the Kraken to move up from their spot in the wild card and overtake the LA Kings. And we'll talk about the LA Kings, but I think there's a lot of things that they did wrong in the offseason, and I think they're going to pay for it. I suspect that, to me, they're the most overrated team going into the new season. And so we'll see what happens. I might be way off, but I think it starts with what you said, what they can fix at the deadline. But, as they say, playoffs aren't won in October, but they are lost in October. And I think the LA Kings have a chance to possibly miss out just based on that fact.
There was enough years during the decade of darkness where the Oilers were out of it by Halloween, so we know that all too well.
Yeah, exactly. Dash, you're up.
All right. Well, I can be a little bit different. I agree with you, Hebert, in that the Kings have, taken a bit of a step back, but I'm going to disagree with you that the Kraken are still a playoff team. I can't see them hanging in, let alone improving. Certainly not with that goaltending, and certainly not with that depth. They had a lot of things go right last year, like winning 40 games with a sub 900 save percentage. I am going to start with my third place team, which I believe will be a little bit of an improved Calgary Flames. I don't think they can be as bad as they were again last year. They had a lot of players in new positions, Huberto, Kadri. Hopefully there's some more comfort there. Maybe there's some more comfort in the new announcement that they've got a fancy new arena coming. So I think the Flames can get back into the top three spot. Where I'm going to probably shock and surprise you guys a little bit here is that in the number two spot, I got the Edmonton Oilers. They've still got the best superpower in the league, but arguably they're as good as, or even potentially not as deep of a team as we had at the end of the last year. The biggest difference being we have Ekholm for an entire year. Is that enough to push you all the way to the number one spot? Maybe. I really do think that our improvements will come at the trade deadline. The Oilers are synonymously a slow starting team, not only in the season, but also in games. Draisaitl is a synonymous self-load manager. I just think all those things, no matter how much I love them, just we're not quite there to put it all enough together to win, to be in the lead of a division. That said, I don't think that Vegas Knights took much of a step back, and they've got a pretty strong team that's still sitting there. They've got a very well coached team. They've got a team that's going to do well in the regular season because they start fast, because they roll four lines, because they have depth. Any one of those six goaltenders, just like the Bruins of last year, should be able to rotate through there and be just fine. So I'm going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights at the number one spot, Edmonton Oilers in two, and the Calgary Flames in the three spot.
All right. That's way off the board. I'm all right with that. I don't, I think, feel a little bit maybe like you're overvaluing the Flames.
That's never happened before.
Yeah,
never.
Much before. Are you willing to write about it, though? That's the question.
Yeah, we're waiting for a new Dash article.
That's right. That's right. Why the Calgary Flames will win the division this year.
The Flames' biggest fan. We're waiting for that article again.
You shut your mouth.
Yeah, you'll never live that one down. All right. We're gonna move on to wild card.
Mhm.
Last year's wild card, easily in the wild card spot, whereas Seattle Kraken with 100 points, the Jets at number 2 with 95 points. Calgary Flames missed out by 2 points with 93, and the Preds missed out by 3 with 92 points. Lotzi, you were starting us off in the wild card spot.
Yeah, and I had 2 new wild card teams in the East, and I've got 0 new wild card teams in the West. I still like the Seattle Kraken. I love their team speed. I think they have a decent amount of depth, and they still found a way to win hockey games with sub 900 goaltending. So a little bit of improved goaltending out of Grubauer, and I like. They got Brian Dumoulin from Pittsburgh, who I think is a fantastic second pairing D. So I think they've improved their D core as well. Good to see improvement from Matty Beniers, who had a fantastic rookie season last year. You got Jared McCann, who had 70 points. That's probably about his ceiling, but you got 2 guys who can potentially get you 65, 70 points there. Everly, Schwartz, Burakovsky. They got lots of guys that can contribute. So I still like the Kraken. And Winnipeg, I like the move that they made getting rid of Dubois and bringing in Iafallo and Gabe Vilardi. Gabe Vilardi, I think, is due for a big breakout this year, playing on the top line with Scheifele and Connor. I like Cole Perfetti as their second line center. I think that's a good natural progression, good easy way to move on from Dubois. And you got Connor Hellebuck back there and an underrated defense. I think that's a good mix for a wildcard team.
Yeah. All right. So you've got Winnipeg and Seattle. So not much to change in the Pacific and then the wild card from last year, other than you've got the Oilers finishing in the top. I will take. I had LA dropping out of the top 3. I'm going to take them as missing the playoffs by like just missing the playoffs. Is going to be, as the wild cards are tight year after year. We probably lost a listener and Angel now, but that's all right.
I wouldn't mind the Kings falling out.
Yeah, no, I think the reason is the same reason why I'm going to put the Jets in that top wild card spot. Velarde is a guy. He's a glue guy that he just made a huge difference on that Kings team, and I think that signing Scheifele and Hellebuck and keeping them in with the team, I think that's a little bit of stability for them. I think they're going to improve this year. And then as much as I actually don't hate it, I think the Calgary Flames will improve just enough to make that last wild card spot. And I don't hate it because I think it's a lot of fun to have a Battle of Alberta playoff series if it happens. And everybody loves to see the Oilers defeat the Flames. Well, everybody on this panel does. So, I'd look forward to that.
I mean, don't forget, after the summer of Brad in 2022, the Flames were declaring that they had a better team than the Oilers. So here we are over a year later, and they're claiming they want to have a rematch in the playoffs because they can beat us now. I mean, I talked about this with Ryan on my show the other night. When is it going to happen? When are they going to get in and give us that test that they say that they're ready for?
Oh yeah, yeah, and I mean they are, to me, the biggest question mark this season in the West. Yeah, but I do think I'm going to go out on the limb and say LA is going to. As soon as they made the moves they made, I thought it was a big mistake. There's it all depends on just how good Dubois really is, right? And so I always question a player like him, right? That gets moved like that. And I wonder, right? Like, is that the difference maker guy?
The second time he's forced a trade at age 24.
Yeah.
So like,
obviously the Kings believe it. they believe it enough to not bet on goaltending, right? Like, I just don't think Talbot's going to be the answer there. So we'll see. So I'm going to take the Jets and the Flames. So that's good for Canadian teams, other than Vancouver, which will finish where they finished. Dash.
Who cares where the Canucks finish? I care about that about as much as I care about where the Flames finish, except for the fact that I agree with you, and I do think that it's good for the Battle of Alberta, good for hockey to see the Oilers and the Flames. You mentioned Summer of Brad, Eric.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's Summer of Brad or Summer of Craig Conroy. At the end of the day, it still equals out in the first round in 5 games and beat by one guy. So don't matter.
I mean, the Flames have about a 10-point gap to make up if they want to get into a wild card spot over the Kraken.
Yeah.
I think the Kraken will let him in there, to be honest. I really do. And I think that the Kings will let him in there too, for all the reasons that we talked about. The reason I don't have the Kings dropping right out is because I do believe that they're going to address that goaltending. I can't see them just, in a point in time where they've got Doughty and Kopitar still hanging on and being valuable players, that they're just going to go and piss a season away. And ultimately, there's guys like UC Saros available in Nashville and guys like that they could really bring in and bolster that back end. So I don't think that they'll fall right out. I don't. I do have them clinging on to that last spot. That said, the number 1 wildcard spot goes to the Winnipeg Jets. Seeing Scheifele renewed is a probably big breath of fresh air for that team, and I think it's going to create a domino effect. I honestly think we're going to see Hellebuck re-sign there now as well. If Hellebuck doesn't re-sign in Winnipeg, I can see him in Los Angeles.
Oh, he did re-sign.
He did. 8 years.
Oh, he did. I missed that. I'm
Hellebuck
sorry. My bad.
That's just more evidence to me that Blake Wheeler was a big part of the problem.
Absolutely, which was literally the next note I had written down. So,
and the best part of Hellebuck re-signing, sorry to cut you off, Dash, is that he can't go to the Kings now.
Yep. Absolutely agree. But I do agree with a lot of the things you guys said about the Jets there. Like, great top 6, good defense, good to above average defense, and a fantastic goalie. Like, they've got big guys up the middle. They've got size, they've got grit, they've got speed, they've got everything you'd want to be a playoff team. So no reason they shouldn't be there.
I don't think we've talked enough about their defense. You got Josh Norrisy in there. Wicked player, like severely underrated player. You got Neil Pionk, very underrated offensive defenseman. Pionk. Like Logan Stanley, having that big body on the back end is really important as well. I'm just bringing up their roster because I know I'm missing some guys here.
Sandberg, Schmidt, and Dillon.
Brendan Dillon, and solid, good second pairing guy. Nate Schmidt, too, underrated. Had a rough last couple of years here, but really good skater, solid player as well. It's an underrated decor.
I think I want to give credit to who said this. It might have been Low Tide that he mentioned DeMello as a potential trade deadline pickup for the Oilers
last year.
No, like this year. Like he thinks the Oilers should target him.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to target somebody who is going to make the playoffs if they make the playoffs. Yeah,
that's the issue.
Yeah. Friesen, I guess we end off this wild card with you.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Seattle and I think, could they finish ahead of Calgary and Vancouver? Yes. A lot of things did go right for them last year, despite having subpar goaltending. They had a lot of career highs for many of their forwards. I heard them once. Yeah, I heard them once described as having 4 second lines. So, that's when you see that there is the depth throughout the lineup. But I don't know. Well, there could be a bit of a step back after getting into the playoffs and taking out the defending champs last year. They had a 7-game winning streak in January. Are they going to have that again? What if their best winning streak is only 4 or 5 games? Well, now you're seeing a drop of at least 4 points right there. And let's say that the guys who had those career years maybe account for another 3 wins. If those guys don't have it, so we could see them drop as many as 10 points in the standings. I still have them getting in as one of the wild card teams. And I went back and forth on this one between Calgary and Winnipeg. I'd love to see Winnipeg in, and just so that Calgary doesn't. But I think that maybe the changes Calgary made, they could just barely claw into that second wild card spot, which, since I have the Oilers finishing in first place, that would tee up another Battle of Alberta. So I'm kind of hoping that that comes to fruition. So I'll go with Seattle and Calgary as my two wild card teams.
I mean,
All right.
big question for the Flames is who's going to score some goals for them this year? Like, no more Tyler Toffoli. You got Jonathan Huberdeau and Elias Lindholm, who are two pretty good playmakers on that top line. Who do they have finishing up there? Yegor Sharangovich?
It'll have to be
More
by
Lucic.
committee. Like, yeah. I mean, it's going to be committee. Like, what that's Sharangovich. If he chips in 20 goals, if Huberdeau gets back to being a 20-goal scorer, they'll see it come up a little bit, but it's going to definitely be a team where you are going to need the entire lineup to contribute, because they don't have that one game-breaking talent like the Oilers do with, the Oilers examples are extreme because they're the two best in the league, but they don't have a guy who can really just, when the game is on the line, step up and score that big goal you need.
Well, you were talking about Seattle having all these guys with miracle years. Like, you go back a couple of years, and that was what the Flames had, right? Like Mangiapane, Goudreau, like everybody was just a career year, right? And you can't keep doing that. And I think
I heard
Seattle's not going to
Sorry.
lose two
Sorry,
100-point scorers
yeah,
like Calgary did that year, though.
that's true. I don't know. Like, I can't see Huberdeau bouncing back that much. I just don't think, the style that Calgary plays is for him, and he's not playing with the same guys, right? Like,
it's a lifestyle too. Going from living in Miami for a decade to coming up and kind of going and during a Western Canadian winter, I'm sure that was a culture shock. Having Daryl Sutter as your coach. The thing that I think, just before we quickly move on from the Flames, I just wanted to say, you look at this team, they made a poor calculation 2 years ago by not rebuilding. Losing your two best players, that should have been a clear signal. We need to sell off all of our remaining top players and go into a rebuild mode. Instead, they wanted to stay competitive. They wanted to try and stay in the mix. They made these trades. They signed Kadri to an ill-advised deal. They've signed Huberdeau after trading for him to an even more ill-advised deal. His 8-year deal kicks in basically a day. So it's a bad move by the Flames. I don't think that they are going to contend for a long time. All that this has really done is kept them in that mushy middle of the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Trey Living was trying to save his job.
He was.
Yeah,
I don't know if they could have. Shouldn't they have tried to sell that to the fan base, though, that the best thing for this team to do is rebuild, because you're trying to go up against prime McDavid and Draisaitl in that division? It just seems like a smart decision this is when you begin the rebuild and try to contend 5 years from now.
I agree.
Might have
with
lost
you,
their
but
team
what a
back to
hard
Atlanta.
sell. That's a hard sell. You win a division.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got
losing 5
we're
games
already
to your provincial rivals, and
Yeah.
we're already overtime on this one. So just quickly, dark horse team. We're gonna start with me. The team, this is hard because really everybody kind of sucks on the bottom half. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you're not talking the guys that are all on the cusp, maybe the Blues, but that's it. There's just not many teams here that I think could be a dark horse team. Dash?
I think the Blues continue their decline, to be honest. I think the team that's maybe loaded with the largest amount of upgradable players or players with room for improvement is the Arizona Coyotes.
Good.
Maybe they get news of a new arena and have some positivity there, but I don't think it's like the Eastern Conference where there's a lot of middle class teams and there's a lot of parity. I do think that there's an upper class and a lower class in the Western Conference and not a lot in between.
Yeah. Eric?
I'll go with Winnipeg Jets. Like we talked about, Hellebuck and Scheifele are back. They were in first place in the Western Conference in January last year. I'm not sure how much that carries over, but yeah, I'll go with the Jets kind of fighting for that last playoff spot.
All right. Lotzi.
I'm gonna go with Calgary here. Again, they were my team in that group of the top half, if you want to call it, that I have missing the playoffs. So I'll say them, and I'm seeing and hearing some chatter and going on about Arizona here, and I agree. I think they're much improved over last year. Like not enough to contend, but maybe to be out of the lottery, maybe to be out of the top 5 or bottom 5.
They're not even the most popular athletes at ASU.
Yeah. All right. This is Oilers Live from the Heavy Hockey Network. Proud to be a friend of Edmonton Sports Talk. When we get back, we're going to be talking about teams, playoffs, and around the league. Stuff like first coach fired, President's Trophy, that sort of thing. See you back in a couple minutes. Join Devin, Bruce, and the rest of the fantasy hockey hacks right here